Level 1. The Guest Pass. Every ladder has a bottom rung, and this one is borrowed. Someone else's name got you through the door of a private members club, and everyone inside can tell. A member you barely know signed the guest register of his country club for you, and from this moment, every mistake you make gets charged to his reputation, not yours. The dress code is not a suggestion. No denim, no phone calls in the dining room, and if you arrive without a jacket, the front desk lends you one that fits nobody. Your phone stays in a locker by the entrance because photography is banned everywhere on the property. What happens in these rooms is not hidden exactly. It is simply never recorded. Guest round at a top country club. $250 signed to your host's account. You cannot pay for anything at a country club like this, and you will not see a price all day. Your host signs a chit for everything, because visible cash is considered vulgar. Notice what nobody explains out loud. Members are watching how you treat the locker room attendant, whether you repair your divots, and whether you bring up money at the table. What looks like a free lunch is really a live audition. That relaxed afternoon was never relaxed. If your host ever proposes you for membership, someone will remember exactly how you behaved on the day you believed nothing was at stake. Most clubs cap how often the same guest can appear, often 6 or 12 visits a year. The rule exists to make one point politely: enjoy this, but you are temporary. Unaccompanied guest access. 0 visits without a host. Without your host physically in the building, your access drops to 0. No bar tab, no tea time, no reciprocal privileges anywhere. Officially, this institution does not know that you exist. You leave past a brass plaque with no club name on it, and the lesson lands. The product sold inside is not golf or dinner, it is the closed door itself. Level 2. The proposal. Years later, you finally ask your host how to join, and he goes quiet. You never apply to a club like this. You get proposed, and the process now owns you. The rules require a proposer and a seconder, both members in good standing, plus letters of support from 3 to 5 others. That is 7 people wagering their reputations on yours. Your seconder invites you to dinner 3 times in 1 month, at his expense. He is not being generous. He is compiling observations for a letter you will never read. The file that decides your next decade looks like this, and you will never be allowed to read it. It circulates through the membership committee while you pretend you are not being investigated. They call it a casual drink with 2 committee members. It is a background check with olives. Your career, your marriage, and your table manners get quietly graded by strangers. Old line club waiting list. 5 to 10 years after proposal. Even a flawless file waits its turn. 5 to 10 years is normal at the old line clubs, and a few in Manhattan and London measure their waiting lists in decades. Then comes the vote, held the way it was held a century ago. White balls for yes, black balls for no, dropped anonymously into a wooden ballot box by every member present. Black balls needed to reject you. 1 to 2 anonymous votes. At many traditional clubs, 1 or 2 black balls kill an application with no reasons given and no appeal. A single member you once offended can quietly end a 2-year candidacy. Clubs defend the ritual because anonymity protects honesty. A member who knows something disqualifying can act on it without making an enemy, and the club never has to explain itself. Rejection burns the proposer too. His judgment is now publicly questioned inside the club, which is exactly why members almost never propose a candidate who is not already a sure thing. Now you understand why the door never had a price tag on it. Money gets your file opened. Only trust, vouched for in writing by 7 people, gets it approved. Level 3. The junior member. One spring, a letter finally says yes at the cheapest tier the club sells. You are in your early 30s, and this is the discount seat at the grown-ups table. Junior and intermediate memberships exist because every club needs young blood. You get the course, the gym, and the bar at a fraction of the price, with an asterisk on everything. The numbers look friendly until you reach the bottom 2 lines. You are paying to be present, not to be heard, and the prime Saturday mornings still belong to full members. The modern version of this tier is the City Membership Club. Soho House built a global business selling young professionals the feeling of being selected for a few thousand a year. Soho House, every house membership. $5,000 per year, approximate. Roughly $5,000 a year buys access to every Soho house worldwide, and the company still keeps a waiting list of nearly 100,000 names to protect the feeling. At this level, you absorb the real etiquette. Never pitch business openly, never photograph anyone, never look impressed. The fastest way to stay a junior forever is acting like one. Then you get your first taste of the real asset. A senior member remembers your name, asks what you do, and 3 weeks later, your resume lands on a friend's desk. You use the reciprocal list on a work trip, walking into a partner club in Chicago with just your member number. For the first time, a closed door opens because of you. Here is what the dues really purchase, ranked honestly. The facilities are the excuse. The compounding value is proximity to people 10 rungs above you, met on their most relaxed days. Level 4. The full member. Around 40, with real income and a sponsor who means it, you convert to full membership. The club stops being an occasional treat and becomes a permanent line item in your budget. Full initiation fee. Premier Club, $50,000. $150,000 mostly non-refundable. Initiation at a premier American country club now runs from $50,000 to $150,000. And at the hottest Florida and Texas clubs, it has doubled since 2020. You wire the money and receive nothing you can ever resell. No equity, no refund at most clubs. Just a locker, a member number, and a bill every January regardless. Read the fine print before you sign, because leaving is harder than joining. Resignation lists at some clubs run years long, and your dues continue until a replacement is found. Budget roughly $20,000 every year at a serious club because dues are only the cover charge. Food minimums, caddies, and surprise assessments quietly handle the rest of the damage. In exchange, the bartender knows your drink before you sit down. Your kids swim here all summer. Your locker carries a small brass nameplate that says, "You finally belong somewhere." Your calendar quietly changes shape too. Member guest tournaments, Friday dinners, and a bar where half the faces belong to business owners, surgeons, and partners at the firms downtown. Private golf and country clubs, USA. Over 3,900 clubs nationwide. America holds roughly 4,000 private golf and country clubs, and the difference between the legendary ones and the forgettable ones was never the grass. It is always the roster. Sociologists have a name for what you are actually buying here: social capital. The measurable value of who returns your phone calls, accumulating quietly with every Friday night dinner. Understand what you have reached. Full membership is the last level that money and patience can reliably buy. Everything above this line is decided in rooms you still cannot enter. Level 5. The equity member. At certain clubs, members do not just pay, they own. An equity membership makes you a shareholder in the land, the clubhouse, and every decision that touches either one. Equity membership certificate. $100,000, $500,000, partially refundable on exit. Equity certificates at top-tier clubs run from $100,000 to $500,000. And unlike a standard initiation fee, a portion comes back if you ever resign. Now you vote. On the renovation, on raising dues, on whether the club takes on debt. The annual meeting is really a shareholder meeting, just with much better carpet. Ownership cuts in both directions. When 400 equity members approve a $20 million clubhouse, each household can be assessed $50,000, payable whether you voted yes or no. You catch yourself reading board minutes on Sunday nights, arguing about irrigation contracts and kitchen costs. Wealthy men fight hardest over small numbers once the club actually belongs to them. One winter, the board debates selling roadfront land to a developer for $8 million. Your single vote helps kill the deal, protecting the tree line and every property value behind it. Equity changes how the building treats you. The staff answer to a board of your peers now, the manager courts your opinion, and your complaint letter gets answered the same day. What looks like an expensive hobby is really a private corporation. From the road, it looks like a golf habit. On paper, it is a member-owned corporation holding real estate, payroll, and politics, and you now hold voting stock in it. Level 6. The invitation. Higher still sit the clubs with no application at all. No form, no tour, no website. You do not find them. If you matter enough, they quietly find you. Augusta National is the famous example. Roughly 300 members, green jackets, and no joining process whatsoever. Asking how to become a member is itself proof that you never will. Augusta National initiation reported. Under $100,000, dues a few thousand yearly. Here is the strange part. Augusta's initiation is reportedly under $100,000 with modest dues. The world's most exclusive clubs are often the cheapest because scarcity replaces price. Cypress Point Club membership. About 250 members total. Cypress Point keeps around 250 members on one of the most coveted coastlines on Earth. When a place opens, the club chooses. Usually, somebody has to die first. The call arrives without warning. A letter or a quiet word at dinner, hinting the club would look favorably on your interest. You realize you have been watched for years. There is nothing to negotiate and nothing to expedite. You write a short letter of acceptance, pay whatever figure they name, and never mention the membership in public again. Rank the entry factors honestly, and net worth lands mid-list. At this altitude, half the billionaires in America could not buy their way in, and several have tried very publicly. Some of these rosters leak anyway. When Augusta's member list surfaced in the press, it read like an index of American capitalism. Bank chiefs, industrialists, and former secretaries of state. Because what these clubs protect is not luxury. It is the guarantee that every person in the room was chosen, which is what makes every conversation inside worth having. Level 7. The deal room. Now you finally see why this ladder was worth climbing. Behind the dining rooms and locker rooms sit the small, quiet rooms where actual money changes hands. A 4-hour round of golf is the longest meeting any executive will cheerfully take. No assistants, no slides, no early exits. Just 4 people and 18 holes of character evidence. Manhattan's Core Club charges around $50,000 to join and up to $18,000 a year after that. What it openly sells is a curated roster of CEOs, financiers, and founders. Watch how the room actually operates. Nobody hands out business cards. One member mentions he is raising a fund, another says, "Talk to my office," and that was the meeting. Deals happen here because the club solved the hardest problem in business: trust between strangers. Everyone present was vetted, vouched for, and carries a reputation too expensive to lose. What looks like lunch and golf is really pre-vetted counterparties. This is the quiet function of every serious private club. It filters strangers out of capitalism so that a handshake at the bar can safely move real money on Monday morning. You land the biggest client of your career at a member guest tournament on the 10th tee without pitching once. He watched you count your strokes honestly for 2 straight days. Your accountant notices before you do. The club dues that once felt like vanity now trace directly to 3 clients, 2 investors, and the best hire your firm ever made. Amman Club New York initiation, $200,000, plus roughly $15,000 yearly. The newest entrants price this access openly. Amman's New York Club launched at $200,000 to join, betting the global rich will pay heavily for a room of equals. Level 8. The Committee. 20 years in, the club asks you to serve, and you discover what actually sits at the top of the pyramid. Not a better locker. A seat on the membership committee. Now the folders cross your desk instead. Careers, finances, sponsors, dinner party behavior, all reduced to a few typed pages. You were once a nervous file exactly like these. You learn the unwritten criteria: no bylaw records. Does he let other people finish sentences? Does she tip the valet? Would you want them beside you for 30 years? Study the committee's real scorecard and notice where wealth sits once again. Everyone in the folder is assumed able to pay. The only live question is whether they will fit. You also inherit the ugly power. Your quiet no, mentioned over coffee, ends a candidacy without any vote being held, and nobody outside this room will ever know it was you. One candidacy splits the room for an hour. Brilliant founder, enormous fortune, famous temper. The oldest member finally settles it with one sentence. We are choosing a neighbor, not a resume. These rooms carry history too. For most of a century, committees like yours excluded candidates by race, religion, and gender, and some old-line rosters still show the residue today. So you learn to use the chair carefully because you finally understand the asset you are guarding. A private club is only ever worth what its hardest no is worth. Level 9. The founding member. At the top of the ladder, you stop joining clubs entirely. You build one, selling the asset you spent 30 years learning to value. The door itself. A developer calls with a proposition, a new golf and residence club on land you could never assemble alone, with your name on the founding documents to anchor its credibility. Yellowstone Club deposit reported $400,000 plus required property purchase. Montana's Yellowstone Club shows the model at full scale. A reported $400,000 deposit, heavy annual dues, and membership contingent on buying multi-million-dollar property inside the gates. As a founding member, you receive privileges no later applicant can buy at any price. Dues locked for life, first choice of home sites, your name engraved beside the door. Founder privileges compound for decades. While later members absorb every dues increase and assessment, your terms were fixed on day one. In a contract, the club can never rewrite. The economics explain why founders get treated like royalty forever. 100 founding seats at $250,000 each raises $25 million before the first fairway is seated. But your real return is not financial anymore. You now sit where the ladder begins, setting the dress code, the guest rules, and the blackball threshold for the next generation. One evening, you sign in a guest, a younger version of yourself in a slightly wrong jacket, and you watch him absorb Rule 1. You cannot pay for anything here. The circle closes. The nervous guest became the man who grants membership, and the lesson held at every level. These rooms never sold access. They lend it, watch, and decide. That was the ladder, from borrowed guest pass to founding member. If you want to keep studying the quiet architecture of wealth, the next video is already waiting for you.